City Council Committee on Administration and Finance, co-hosted Committee of the Whole, met in Council Chamber on Wednesday, June 13, 2008 at 6:30 p.m. for the purpose of discussing the matters listed below. Notice this meeting was originally posted on May 21st, 2018 at 12:50 p.m. It was revised on June 1st at 10:44 a.m. to change the start time to 6:30 p.m. to add 2 additional matters. This meeting is being recorded. All committee members are present. Also present is Councilor Milo from the Committee of the Whole. We have several matters for fiscal year 19 operating budget means and capital improvement plans for the following departments: police, fire, and harbor master, and our short-term appropriation for the FY19 capital improvement plan. The FY 2019 5-year plan is also on here, but that's not something we actually vote on, the 5-year plan. We vote on the current year plan, so it's kind of a glitch that it's in here. Anyhow, we're going to start off on this one for a variety of reasons with the Harbor Master Department. And if we can kick things off, Lori, Bill.
Good evening. For this year, for fiscal year 19, we're not anticipating any major staffing or equipment changes or schedule changes. We are always looking for additional full-time harbor masters that come with all the requisite law enforcement and maritime skills, so it's kind of arduous to find those people on a seasonal basis. So there won't be any additional expense. All the man hours are listed in the budget, but if we could split it up among additional personnel, we'll endeavor to do so. As far as equipment goes, we're status quo with the equipment, other than casualty and things like that may be paid for out of the revolving account for capital improvement, which are engine, propulsion units, outboard motors mostly. We have one outboard motor that we have in spare that's brand new, ready to press into service. We have a pretty good deal with BRP Incorporated. They sell us their engines at GSA prices, and they let us hold them as a reserve, and they don't start a 3-year warranty ticking until we actually place them in service. So it's a pretty good deal, and we usually try to keep one engine ahead in the summer just in case we have a catastrophic failure. And we look to, at the end of the 3-year period when the warranty starts to run out, if we have a problematic engine or if we have one that we think can make it for another few years. That's how we identify how we're replacing.
All right. Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How are you set for gear and boats and everything else, in your opinion? Because you haven't come to us for too much at all recently. And I know, the ocean takes salt water takes a wear and tear on everything.
Yep. So I appreciate that question. We're fortunate in that we do have good equipment. We've funded a lot of it through port security grants, where they've taken the 75% burden and the city's been able to, just do the 25% match. Coming up for next year, we may look at a port security grant with a boat, a replacement boat, but that I'm going to have to evaluate that over the period of time to see if that's worth it. It may be 2 or 3 years out. I just need to check one of our older boats and see how it holds up over this season. But all in all, we're in good shape. And like I said, when I was speaking before, we keep up with the engine and the propulsion units through the capital improvement plan with the revolving fund. We keep up with it with an eye towards which engines are going to be problematic and cost more to repair, as opposed to rotate out of service and replace.
Do you, continuing, Mr. Chair, do you use in emergency some heat-seeking goggles or other type of device?
No, we have the vessels equipped with forward-looking infrared cameras, so they're fixed to the vessels. We don't put anything on our face. It's all shows up through the displays, the electronic navigation displays.
Okay.
It's pretty neat.
Yep. Does the night vision apparatus that we're buying 2 of them this year have anything to do with your department, or will you share them with the police department?
The ones that we put on the boats are for marine use. They're fixed to the boat. So, we share it with them when they come out and do a mission with us. We were deployed to a pond in North Andover with one of the boats a couple of weeks ago. We did use a forward-looking infrared up there that was fixed to the vessel. So in that regard, we do share them, but I haven't put anything for forward-looking infrared for the boats this year through the council.
Yeah, within the police department's budget, there's a couple of night vision.
Yeah.
I'll use goggles as
Just for their use.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so their use of it would be slightly different than ours. We're primarily using them for search and rescue. They may be using them for tactical reasons, so that.
I made a rescue in my boat years ago of a boat that was sinking with an elderly couple on it, and the police department were able to direct me where to go from the land side. The harbor master wasn't available. This is years ago, long before you were around. And then later I got a lesson from some of the equipment that they were using, the different nighttime goggles. Pretty impressive gear.
Yeah, the forward-looking infrared cameras that are fixed to the vessels are pretty good. They've come a long way. Technology's a lot cheaper now, too.
I'd just like to say I think you do a great job. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Dibble?
Yeah, there being none, I move to approve the total personnel and non-personnel budget in the amount of $284,702 for the Harbor Master's office.
Councilor Dibble moves approval of the Harbor Master personnel and non-personnel expenses budget of $284,702, seconded by Councilor Peterson.
Frankly, I don't know how you do so much with such a small budget.
Yeah, well, sometimes that's why my hair's gray.
Don't let them all go, Greg.
Oh, that's not fair. I remember when we hired you, you were gray then. Nice try, though. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Good night. That was painful, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was easy.
And now we'll do fire, now that we've had an example there, and Councilor
did
Flynn
this.
has to recuse himself because this is the department who draws the salary. So, try to get you back in here quickly, sir.
Good yourself.
You all set?
That is section
As good as I can be.
12 in section 8, page 121. So, and a new face here this year. Yeah, guys, you want to kick it off now that you've seen the pattern?
Sure. My name's Jerry Judger. I'm acting chief Salem Fire right now. There is an assessment center next week where a permanent chief will be chosen, so I'm sitting in right now as a senior deputy chief on duty. Primary mission of the Salem Fire Department is to provide a range of programs designed to protect the lives and property of the citizens of Salem from adverse effects of fire, sudden medical emergencies, or exposure to dangerous conditions created by either man or nature. Right this year, fiscal year 2019, we do not have any significant budget or staffing changes. We do have a firefighter that retired prior to Chief Cody retiring. Chief Cody retired. We're in the process of hiring a firefighter now, and we're waiting until the process of next week to hire for Chief Cody's position, and there'll be promotions all the way up through the ranks. And we anticipate one other retirement from a line of duty injury.
So the one major, one significant increase I note in the expenses side of the budget, although the expense side is by far the smallest side, is an increase on the protective clothing side. That's additional turnout gear.
Yes, and what that is we contractually got a second set of gear for the firefighters. So when one set of gear is at a fire, it is deconned prior to wearing again. So the second set of gear would be worn at that time. So the gear has a life expectancy of 10 years. It's right on the manufacturer's notes. So that the gear that's going to be replaced in fiscal 2019 has the gear that was originally issued in 2009.
I'm just taking notes. Personnel-wise, we're still at full staff, so
Except for the
with the retirement replacement.
transitional
Yep.
piece of 3 members, well, 2 right now.
Okay. Questions from our members? Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jerry, I think you're doing a good job. We haven't had a single complaint since she became the acting.
Thank you.
I wish you all the luck in the world. I think the entire force, who I support fully, and quite honestly, quite a few of them are my friends. Maybe almost 24 of them are my friends.
Wow.
I think that they look forward to having a new chief, and I think that all 4 of you would make an excellent chief, whoever gets the job.
Correct.
But you in particular, I wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you very much.
Go study hard.
I will.
The fire prevention line item in 2018 matched what we're giving this year, but then it was reduced down to $8,000. The year before, in 2017, it was $5,000, and we're up to $14,500 is what you asked for, not you, but what the chief asked for last year. But it got dwindled down. What is that, and why was it reduced down, and is this at where you need to be for whatever that item is? Section 8, page 124, that helps you. Fire prevention costs.
What's on list that Monday for running the Citizens Academy?
There was, yes,
It's 4th from the last on your on the budget.
there was an increase for the Citizens Academy.
It's itemized on 8/128.
Says
8.
8/128 itemizes it out.
This right here, the expenditures from
I apologize.
5,000 to 14,500.
Okay, I'm all set with that. I tried to stump him, you know.
See this?
And I know we don't have, this is one of, again, sadly, one of these years where we don't have Councilor O'Keefe peeking in from just outside the door to buy the entrance and stuff. Yeah, but he's not doing that. He's Councilor Milo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not being a member of the committee, I too want to echo Councilor Dibbo's comments about what a great job you're doing, Chief, and what a great job you did on Sunday at Firefighters Memorial. I really appreciated your comments. I appreciated the turnout, especially of your men and women. It seems like there's a lot of support there. And I too wish you all the luck.
Thank you very much.
And the other 3 deputies, of course.
Yes, yes.
But can you just talk a little bit about the Citizens Fire Academy? Because I think, between the police and the fire, these are things that not every community offers to its residents, and I think it's a pretty cool thing. You've run one so far, right?
That's correct. And it went, I believe, for 6 weeks.
I think the feedback was good.
It was 6 weeks, and yes, the feedback was good, and we went through a variety of different scenarios that firefighters actually go through. They actually put all the gear on and did a search with a blacked out face shield, because what you see in movies of the fire and all that and firemen running in, it's really not like that. It would make for a very poor movie if it showed what a fire really was like, because you can't see anything. You feel a lot of heat and you're crawling around on the ground, and that's about it. And so you give people a taste of what that is all about. Some of the more fun things that they like was using the jaws of life and cutting up a car, that type of thing. And so there were some fun things and some things that weren't too much fun for the people, like fire prevention, but it's all necessary. It's all part of the big picture, and fire prevention is a huge part of the fire department as far as preventing the fires from starting and inspecting all the new homes as they're being built and businesses. So there's quite a role for them to play, and the academy gets a taste of all of that.
That's great, thank you.
Councilor Fury.
Chief Butler, Councilor Milo, and myself had the opportunity to go to the Fireman's Memorial on Sunday on a day weather-wise, and Councilor Dibble, thank you.
And Councilor Flynn.
And Councilor Flynn. And it was a picture-perfect day. On a scale of 10, it was a 10. And it's such a moving ceremony. As Deacon Point said, it's a real brotherhood and sisterhood between police department and fire department. And it was nice to recognize and respect 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of service, 25 years of service, and Councilor O'Keefe's son, who I'm sitting in his the dean's seat, he was recognized that day. So it was really nice. He was looking down, as I think he's looking down today. And it's a real wonderful brotherhood and sisterhood. I wish that the teaching profession had that. I was wishing even elected office has that. It doesn't have that brotherhood, sisterhood that you have. Now, the cable TV is covering it there. And would you give a little bit about your background in the service to your department, the city of Salem, Chief? Would you give your background to us and the listeners that are listening? And it'd be nice to give a human face beyond budget figures there, how much service and love you've given to the city of Salem.
Well, it is a job I love. I'm very passionate about the Salem Fire Department, and it's been a stepping stone for a lot of different things in my lifetime. I got on in 1983, I have over 35 years of service, and in that time I joined the FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, Urban Search and Rescue Team that's over in Beverly in about 1991. That was created because of the Loma Prieta earthquakes in California, where there was all that devastation. And I got really interested in that search and rescue part of it, and went through the ranks of that and ended up going to some pretty major events. September 11th, 9/11, I went to the World Trade Center. I've been to Katrina for the hurricane there, and that I thought man could create quite a bit of devastation at the World Trade Center, and Mother Nature can wreak quite a bit more havoc. You could drive for hours and still be in a devastated area, so that's how big it was. I also joined the state hazmat team back when that started, and Massachusetts has one of the best hazardous materials teams in the country. We run in districts, there's 6 of them in the country. I happen to be in District 6 in the northeast corner of Massachusetts, and been to quite a few hazardous materials incidents. So that and the fire department itself, going to numerous fires in my own city and going through the ranks from firefighter through lieutenant, captain, now deputy chief for the last 11 years. And I still love my job, and I still love coming to work every day. Thank you.
We'll be blessed to have you as chief.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions for Councilor Dibble?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just long-range planning. Your crew, Engine 5, Station 5, they're incredibly proud of the new fire truck they have. And they brag that it matches the other one that we have exactly, so interchangeable parts.
Correct.
That's a good plan. Where are we at for future? And I haven't seen anything, haven't heard of anything. Do we have other trucks that are coming on or soon to come offline as well?
We have our ladder 1, which is stationed on Essex Street with engine 4, is 18 years old. So you're looking at like a 20-year, looking at replacement. So in a couple of years, that ladder truck is due to be replaced.
So we have 2 ladder trucks?
We have 2 ladder trucks. We have the other ladder truck is Tower 2 that's located down at headquarters, and that's a new truck that's only a couple of years old.
Yeah,
so
3 or 4 years old.
So the life expectancy of a ladder truck is around 20 years and 15 to 18 for a pumper, because they actually tend to run more. So
does it cost any more to have, for our insurance or anything else, to have a piece of equipment that's beyond the life, outside safety of our officers?
Well, all the trucks get tested every year, so the ladder truck goes through a test, and not only the aerial ladder, but all the ground ladders that are with it. So the trucks are maintained. We have a great mechanic, John Addison, that goes through the trucks and maintains everything to a very high level. So some of the trucks have a little rust on them, things like that, a little body work that could be done, but you start wondering if you're going to be putting good money into bad when a truck's 18, 19, 20 years old. So
Sure.
That's what we're looking at.
How old was the old ladder, old pumper 6 rather, at Station 5?
Oh, engine 6 that was our spare.
That was a spare.
Spare piece, that was, I believe, 24 years old. I'm not positive of the age, but it was up there. And that's been retired and put on muni bid for the parts that are left on it. The mechanic took what we could off of it for future use. And the old engine 5 is now engine 6. And
Where is the mechanic's station? Is he at Public Works or is he?
no, he's down at Station 6, which is near the Willows. So fire prevention runs out of there, and the 2 bays are where the mechanic works on the trucks there.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just for timing, we've replaced, since I started in 2000, beginning of 2012, we've replaced 2 pumpers and added the tower.
Yep.
So that's three engines so far.
That's during my time as well, so we've done a lot recently.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's the first pumper, we put in the first pumper, I think it was was that engine 2?
Correct.
And then tower 2 came in, and then, and then the new engine 5. It's nice, they're nice and shiny.
Well, the mechanic has good dealings with Ferrara, which is the company that made both Engine 2 and Engine 5, and he likes to have things be maintained the same. So if we stick with the same type of apparatus, there'll be the same oil filters, tires, all that stuff. So when you purchase things, they can be used for different trucks. And
So
Makes
the only
sense.
other question I'll ask, and I know this gets into much longer range capital plan stuff. So we still have engines at 2 stations that are older.
Correct.
At this point. What's the approximate age of those 2 units?
I don't know if
I know about
have the
ladder one,
paperwork. Engine 1 is the oldest of them, and I don't have the paperwork on me that I'm aware of.
That's fine. I just
But-
curious, because I know that when you talk about the rolling replacement schedule,
Right.
that's one of those engines is probably the next up.
Right, the ladder's the closest to its life cycle, but then
Okay.
after that, it would be Engine 1, and I want to say it's around 12 years old.
Oh, no, that's not as bad as I thought it was.
Right. That's a guess, though, I'm not positive about
No, that's fine. I wasn't looking for an exact on that one. Councilor Dibble?
Curious, at Station 5, the old Engine 5, is that now our backup, and is that...
That's correct.
Is that now Engine 6?
That became Engine 6, so
I got you.
Councilor O'Keefe's living in his glory because both 5 and 6 are up at his station, so, yeah.
Any other questions from members of the committee or from Council Mallon? Councilor Peterson?
I move that we approve the budget for fire personnel and equipment at $9,238,930.
Second.
Enthusiasm on this one.
So Councilor Peterson moves to approve the fire personnel and expenses budget of $9,238,930, seconded by Councilor Fury. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
See, that wasn't too
Thank you,
tough.
everyone.
Thank you, Chief.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Do we have another,
And thank you, everyone, for attending Firefighters Memorial Sunday.
On it.
Appreciate it.
I was thinking the... No, it's police issue, sorry.
No, it's just 2 pages. All right, and the next one down, section 13 is police.
Gonna be a little tougher on you.
Good.
And in the immortal words of Maxwell Smart, hello, Chief.
All right, so I guess unlike the fire department, there are significant personnel changes that we have this year and probably next year as well. So I think we're in a time period where there's a huge transition of personnel, sort of reaching their maximum years. This year alone, we ended up sending to the academy and or bringing on 12 people. So large number. I will say that it's significant to do that. It's really about the pre-planning. And unlike other professions, and I'm sure the fire chief could talk about it in the same manner, There's a huge undertaking of training, and it takes anywhere between 24 and 26 weeks at the academy alone, and another 8 to 12 weeks with field training actually to get somebody who's up and available and ready to independently work, albeit with some supervision, but at least be in a position where they can actually operate as an officer in a cruiser and try to respond to calls. There's a lot to know, there's a lot to learn, and so we've undertaken the effort to try to really project as best we can so that we're not in a situation where we're depleting our workforce, and then that impact to the service that we provide the community is problematic. So we've been working really hard at trying to get folks to give us a little bit of a heads up as to, when they plan on leaving, and so that we can sort of plan out in the best way possible how we're going to be making those moves. Doesn't always happen that way. Lieutenant Engelhardt left in July of this past year, and it was planned and it was intended. In August of this year, Officer LeBrun left, but it was, I think I got less than a 2-week notice that he was departing. And then in December, the same situation transpired with Sergeant Gifford, who was leaving. So these are like sort of, I don't have a heads up, and I don't really know, and as we're trying to at least maintain the same level of service, sometimes these things actually affect what we're doing. We've had other things happen. We've had an officer leave finally in February after taking a 6-month leave of absence because he transitioned over to the Mass State Police. And we have a projection right now of 8 to 9, because there's one on the fence, relative to a job opportunity that they may have that are going to be leaving in July, August timeframe. So this pre-planning of these 12 individuals for this past year has been all leading up to trying to make sure that we're going to be at our numbers where we need to be. Best projection that we can do is that's what we attempted to do. I feel, unfortunately, that given some of the circumstances that happened with some disability retirements, termination, that we're not actually going to be, equivalent to where we are. We're probably still going to be about 3 behind, and then looking obviously forward to getting those individuals into an academy. So I can handle a few. I can't handle large numbers in terms of trying to actually manage a workforce and try to accomplish all the services that we provide to the city. So that, in essence, is sort of a little bit of a nutshell about all the things that are going on in the PD. And it's going to happen again next year, so that whole pre-planning. And so you'll see in the budget that we're projecting, or we've projected at this point, that 10 will be going to the academy. That number may look more like 15, but we'll make things work. We did it this year, we'll make things work for next year. As long as there's no more surprises from individuals, I think we'll be good in how that transitions. So those significant changes just ultimately change a number of dynamics, because some of the people that are leaving this July are lieutenants, and that's going to prompt the movement of sergeants into that position, and the movement of officers into sergeant's position, and then the movement of new people. So all those transitions affect to a degree, what we're doing in the budget, but also affects a little bit of the quality of service that we're providing, because you got new people in new positions that we're trying to really get up to speed. This year, so I'll leave that issue just because it's a monstrosity of an issue, but that's, something that we're managing. We also did this year was we took on the responsibility of trying to get some per diem dispatches. God bless you.
Thank you.
Is because we're a busy city. I mean, this is a busy community. There's a lot going on. I don't think any of that's lost on anybody here. And I think it's clear that at some time, certainly even based on some of the negotiations with the ASME folks, because the dispatchers are now part of ASME, that, that they are feeling overwhelmed by the number of calls and the dispatching they have to do. So we brought on some per diems to alleviate some of those issues and making sure that we are responsive to the calls, and that we're providing some reprieve to the dispatcher. It's worked out well. We've managed to hire 4 individuals that actually dispatch in other communities. We're very interested in doing this per diem work, and we've brought them in to cover on a basis of when we know that we have a high need. And sometimes that can't always be projected, because sometimes a Monday or a Wednesday could be absolutely insane. But I think that we're trying to do our best to actually do that kind of projection. So you'll see that as a new line item that we actually have in the budget. Just to cover those particular expenses. I hope that people can see the benefit of it, either by the calls that they've made and the service that they've received, and by a little bit of the less stress, because I can't have the dispatchers being so stressed that they walk out, because then I'm starting anew, and that's problematic. So I have to be cognizant of a number of issues on that line. We also had an outreach worker for the majority part of the year. She has left to a new job, so we have about 20 applicants. I think that we've whittled down now to about 5 to interview for the outreach worker. And the outreach worker is somebody who's assisting with the community impact unit, trying to assist with the homeless population, because there are needs that they have. And what we're trying to do is actually try to bring a closer relationship to really identify what those needs are and get to them before they become a continuous call for service. So you'll see that we'll have that. It's currently covered under expenses and contracted services, but ultimately it gets transferred in the way that we end up doing it at this point. There's also 5 hours we've increased with the animal control officer. That's, again, based on need at this particular point. Lots of complaints in some of the parks relative to the dogs running off leash. Obviously making some people very nervous about it, and I think that we've posted as much as we can. We typically go around and try to do enforcement. I think it's a matter of really now pushing the envelope, and people are going to be receiving citations for this kind of activity. Just to make sure that people feel safe walking around, and I think that's the whole point behind the leash law. So we brought them on for an additional 5 hours a week, just to make sure that that's being done. And we've had a number, unfortunately, bad as it seems, a number of dangerous dog situations and hearings that we've actually had, and it's important for him to actually investigate those thoroughly, and we process those. And then I think that's pretty much it in the personnel side of things. On the expense side of things, most of the stuff that we have is all ultimately ends up being technology-based or maintenance contracts relative to that. Right now we have, I think, somewhere in the vicinity of about 51 cameras around the city. Some of those benefited by some grants that we had, port security, many of them that are amongst the waterfront area. At one particular point, they were connected to the U.S. Coast Guard, so they were able to view. In the event of any kind of an emergency situation, they had that ability. Somewhere down the line, something changed after that actually got accomplished, and the software got changed. And as a result of that, the Coast Guard lost connection. So we're in the process right now of rebuilding that connection for them, for that to happen. The Harbor Master has access to them as well, so for that service that they provide on the waterfront, they're able to do that. So we have some money in there basically dealing with the contracts relative to cameras. We have some additional money in there you'll see is relative to the training of the new officers that are going to be going to the academy. In addition to that, it increases sort of the firearms, because that's part of the training that they have to go. They have to go to the academy with X amount of ammunition, both in their qualifying service weapon and in the shotgun in terms of their training. So we need to provide those particular things, as well as obviously new weapons for the individuals. So, and then the last piece was we've lost a couple of people from our dive team. And so we've appointed a couple new people to the dive team. And as standard in terms of the fact that we are not a unit under NEMLAC as the dive team, but the dive team is actually an asset to NEMLAC. And so the North Andover incident that happened not that long ago, a few weeks ago, our dive team was called to and assisted, and we actually have a very high quality through the port security grant, got a sonar side scan, so we were able to actually find the individual just because it's very murky water. So they go and will deal with any of the agencies that are within the NEMLEC region as an asset to be able to assist, because there's not a lot of dive teams around. So in order to do that, we want to maintain that the standard of training that the individuals have is up to the quality that we're looking for both rescue and recovery and crime scene investigation. So they'll be undertaking that as well. And those are pretty much the significant changes, I think, within the budget.
Do we have, I know we've had issues with officers transferring out. Do we get officers transferring in somewhat?
If we put that request out, and I think we might be, somewhere close to being at that juncture right now. We have 3 individuals left on our reserve list, and for those who don't know, that the reserve list is a hiring pool for full-time people. It's a long process to screen individuals. We only have 3 of those people left. We only have the ability by civil service law to put on 21 at a time, and we have gone through that rapidly, at a rapid pace. Clearly, if 12 have come on this year and 4 more were actually started in May of last year and then ultimately graduated in the fall of 2017, you add that to the equation, you've got 16 people. So we've managed through that list in a very rapid succession. So what we need to do is go through another screening process, but we do know that there have been some individuals who have reached out to the department who are interested. They still need to go through the same screening, even if they are transfer individuals. But what we get out of that is an individual who's already trained. In the 12 that came on this year, 2 of them already actually were, and they came in as reserves, not as a transfer into the department. So we had 2 individuals. One was already trained through Salem State in the academy, and the other one was a Concord officer. And they both came in through the process of a reserve officer and came on with training, which is excellent for us because it helps us just get them acclimated to our rules and regulations, policies and procedures, command staff, structure, city, all the particulars of operating things that we actually run by. So I can see us in a position by this fall of probably looking at some of the individuals who expressed interest. So, long answer, but short, yes.
Thank you. Any questions, other questions from members of the committee? Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief Butler, I had the privilege of working with you some 30 years ago, and I heavily lobbied for you, and I was excited when you were asking to become the chief. The mayor still opened it up to quite a few, I think 19 different entities that were vying for the position, a whole bunch of them from outside of the city. But we had trained you for 3+ decades to do this job, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
The morale is excellent. I'm really disappointed that so many of my friends are retiring. I don't know the younger guys that are now officers. So with that, it costs about $4,000 to send a recruit through the academy, give or take, whatever the number is. And last year we had talked about ways of recouping that cost should that recruit jump ship after we pay for everything and train him, and he jump ships and goes to work for another town. Mm-hmm. What are we doing now? I have 2 other questions after that, Mr. Chair.
Well, we have a contract with them. Everyone who is going to an academy signs a contract with the department, and it's based on the current rate in which they're receiving at the time that they go to the academy. And it provides a commitment of 5 years. And over that commitment of 5 years, what happens is it starts dwindling down. But it's 100. If you leave within the first year, it's 100% reimbursement of the cost relative to that, which includes part of their salary as well. So and then it goes down incrementally and up to the 5 years, and when it finally ends after that particular point, if they leave after 5 years. But we're expecting at least a minimum of a 5-year commitment from them.
So that's one reason why I heavily lobbied for you to get the job. That you responded. A couple of years ago, that was not the case, and it was costing us money, but you were going somewhere else. And I guess it was you that implemented this program and changed things. So thank you. Keep leading that way. Under arms and ammunition, the budget has gone up quite a bit this year, and there's a state mandate that's required for qualification and training for officers. But let's talk about ammo. Is that a state mandate, and is the state helping pay for that?
The state does not help pay for most state mandated-ish. So we have state mandated training relative to firearms. And the state mandates that as well, and that's why you see actually a significant increase is the number of people that will be going to the academy. They are mandated by the Mass Criminal Justice Training Council to actually undertake the particular training, and they go to that training with a significant amount of ammunition to be able to qualify appropriately. They spend probably at least a minimum of a week during doing training relative to their firearm. So the state also mandates 40 hours of in-service training every year for patrol officers and for police officers in general across the state. It's not funded; it's an unfunded mandate, and it's something that we work, very hard at trying to figure out the most cost-effective and efficient way of getting it accomplished, but in a manner that is not just focused specifically always on cost, even though cost is a significant issue relative to it, but also on what's the benefit to the officer. So there are some trainings that doesn't matter if you're doing it in person or not in person. It's not going to change the dynamics of the training, whatever it may be. Let's say it's about violent extremism. It's not going to change that issue. However, if you're talking about legal updates or you're talking about fair and impartial policing, then that really is more important for you to be able to do in person, because that exchange of information, to be able to ask questions, to be able to really understand your job, those are critical pieces that really require them to actually be in attendance at a training. And we try to really balance those things out.
My third and final issue, just for clarification, is under the CIP. I know it's not before us right now, but I've been a Boy Scout leader for some 25 years, and I like our scouts to be prepared. But I like your police officers to be even more prepared. So I'm fully supportive of things that you say that you need, but it concerns me a little bit. Can you speak to it a little bit? We're looking at 10 active shooting kits, night vision goggles, a couple pairs of that, heavy-duty shields, 10 of those, portable surveillance cameras, shotguns, 6 more of those, tasers, a lot more equipment all of a sudden. What can you speak to that? What's going on?
Well, I think that part of it is preparation, but part of it is that we got some aging equipment too. So we have shotguns that are pretty much 20 years old. I'll tell you, I went and did shotgun training this fall, and the thing just kept on jamming. It was just hugely problematic. And it's because of the age of the actual equipment. The active shooter kits is to provide appropriate protection so that officers could respond if they need to respond. Having 10 means they're in the cruisers, and so they don't have to be issued to individual people. It's the best cost-effective way to do it. And we know the national trend. We see some of the things that are going on, and by the same token of being able to be prepared to do things, we need to provide a sense of safety for the officers, that they understand that we're providing them the tools to do the job in a safe manner. So when you have the shields are actually pretty deployable in that they can be in the cruiser, in the side door, and be a shield for anybody coming up upon the vehicle, and they can be brought out into the field. They have dual purposes in terms of what they can be used for. And so we tried to really focus on that so it's not just a singular use, and that's sort of the preparation. So we've undertaken the ALICE training in all the schools at this particular point. Preparation for emergency, whatever that may be. And it's preparing the staff and the teachers and the students about these particular things. But it requires also the follow-up for the police department to not only understand the particular layout of buildings, but what's the process for actually being able to engage into an active shooter situation, wherever that may be. What is the process? What are the rules? Let's not have I can't go in because I'm one person because the rules say this. That's not an appropriate response to it. And so what we want to do is to train people, but provide them that sense of protection that we're concerned and considering what it takes to make them safe to be able to respond in an appropriate way.
When you add it all up, and when you look at the whole budget, it's a fairly small amount of money percentage-wise, but you add it all up, and it's a little bit of money, but if you as chief say that you need this, I'm in full support of it. I have not seen these things in the past, so I guess it is old equipment that we're replacing some of it.
Old equipment on never existing equipment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So thank you for having our officers be prepared. No other questions.
Councilor Peterson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I first want to say thank you so much. I've been in touch with you a lot over the first several months here of my term, and you and the whole department have been so supportive and helpful. So thank you. And I wanted to also officially, formally thank you for supporting one of my younger constituents, Dior Stavros, who got to be a officer, who is an honorary Salem officer through the strength that she has through her illness, and she carries that with her, I know. And you all were so wonderful that day for her. I had a question that is related to the I'm certain to use all the wrong terms here, so thank you for your patience. But the per diem piece, I think it was called, the overtime. So I think I understand this correctly. So this is, and this might be a question that's maybe a non-starter for unions, but I'm just curious if it's been explored. So I think it's just retired officers that are eligible for that. Is that right?
For the per diem?
For the extra, the officers that are coming in to fill in shifts.
Overtime shifts.
Overtime.
On overtime
details,
shifts?
yeah.
Out
That
of
sort of
grade?
thing. Sorry?
Out of grade or overtime?
Yeah, I want to get to the bottom of your question.
Yeah,
So there's, I guess, a couple different things. So the per diem dispatchers are actually civilian dispatchers.
Okay.
Who are dispatchers full-time on other places or have
Okay.
other jobs. All of them are actually dispatchers. And they come in at 8 hours a week or whatever in the time frame that we're looking for some additional support. Overtime is actually put out and has to be commensurate with the rank of the individuals, and those are actually full-time people that are actively working. They're the ones that actually get
For
the
our department
exactly
currently.
for our department. So if it's a patrol officer, the overtime is only available to patrol officers. If it happens to be a lieutenant or an OIC that is actually out, then it gets extended to lieutenants to say the active lieutenants. Do you want to work that overtime? That's a little bit different than the out of grade. And then the out of grade really is a situation where we have a sergeant who will move up into the rank temporarily for the day, for the 8 hours or 4 hours or whatever it is, into the position of a lieutenant, accepting those responsibilities and getting paid for as if they were in fact a lieutenant during that particular, those particular hours.
Okay. I might be.
We also just submitted to the council the home rule petition to allow retirees to come back and
Yeah.
work these
Oh,
days.
that's what
not
you're referring
permissible.
to.
It's getting hurt
That's
on
not
Thursday.
happening right now.
Okay.
But we are hopeful that that could be a provision, given both like sometimes high amounts of details, but also the special events that we have going on in the community. It would be good at times to have like a special event personnel that could come back to help out with some of the various items that fall under the public safety umbrella.
Yeah.
But not, you don't necessarily have to be an existing officer to play that role.
But in the way that it's been presented, it's meant to be people that have been retired from our department. Is that?
We just submitted the home rule petition,
Okay,
which
yeah.
I think was approved, or
It's being
now it's
heard
in
on
committee?
Thursday,
Okay.
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Okay, so the hope would be if that was to go through, we can go through a process with the legislature that would enable up to the chief, up to the department, with respect to using that personnel who are retired, who still have capacity to play a certain role in the department
Right.
as a detail or a special event personnel.
So that wouldn't take the place of current full-time officers, active officers in the department. So the strategy ultimately is the fact that we have a number of details that are, clearly you can watch the traffic patterns, you know how many details that we actually have. And so what we're finding, and we've found in the last few years, is this is a mechanism to try to diffuse the number of times that we've actually had nobody able to fill an opening on the street. And that's just a public safety issue from my perspective. So this year alone, I believe we had somewhere in the vicinity of about 867 jobs not filled. And by having that, it does create a potential problem on the street with citizens trying to navigate a particular construction area, for their public safety and for the safety of the crew that's actually trying to do whatever job they're doing. So it was considered at this because we go through all the steps. We ask our full-time officers, we then ask our reserve officers, we then ask the special police officers, which are the ones that in Salem State, because we swear them in as specials because they cover for us when we have really important things going on. And then we ask all outside agencies around us, Lynn, Danvers, Peabody, Beverly. And when we still have 867 jobs unfilled, it's clear that there's a void that needed to be filled. And there are some people that have retired and might not necessarily want to have, working because maybe they're not in the best physical fitness to be able to do that and withstand that. But there are plenty of people that are retiring, as we can see the numbers now, that could fill that void and then be able to provide that kind of public safety. So.
Right. So thank you. So the reason that I was asking the question, kind of the other end maybe of what Councillor Dibble was saying, where he said he knows most of the people who are retiring. I tend to know more of the people who are coming into the department at this point. And I was talking to somebody recently who kind of went through, who had been hoping to be an officer for many years and sort of had been, I don't really know how it works, but had been on the waiting list or who had kept applying and finally got through. But, all at the same time, he'd been building up a career somewhere else. So he's not in a position right now to be able to take a full-time position as an officer, but kind of, I guess, was sworn in, and I'm guessing went through the academy. I don't know how that works. Like, do they have to?
So when they come in on it as a reserve.
Yeah.
There is a reserve academy, either NERB or Melita. That's one of the two academies that they'll go to. That gives them the actual minimum requirements the state says you have to be authorized to be able to work in the capacity of a police officer. Ultimately, all full-time police officers have to attend a state-regulated academy for training. That's just an end deal. But for a reserve, they can work in that capacity for a period of time. But being on our reserve list, it only gives them the opportunity to refuse full-time employment 3 times.
Okay.
And so when the position comes up and is offered, they can refuse, and by the 3rd time, they're off the list, unfortunately. So it makes it difficult, because it is so difficult sometimes for officers to get on, or in the past it was. What we used to get for civil service, for a list from civil service, the number of people who were interested in this job, when I got on, were over 300. 300 deep. What we're looking at now, though, when we're looking at the police list, of somewhere around 47 to 57. So it's significantly less. So at the time when there was 300 plus that would be on a list, it was clear that we ventured into this by saying, listen, sometimes it's all about timing. It's all about timing to be able to get on. So we didn't want to go down a path of saying, here's your cutoff age. There's a cutoff age by the state law anyway. They can't proceed beyond age 40. But we didn't accept the age 32 because we understand that if you took 10, and I have one person who took a number of exams over 10 years because they're only offered every 2 years. He's now 35 or 36 years old to get on the job and provide that opportunity. We didn't want to cut that off because we know what transpires.
Right. So I guess my question ultimately is there an opportunity for people like that to end up filling those voids of the 800 and something shifts that are open and empty? Is there a way to fill the gap with those people who? But again, I don't know if that's a union question. That
they're on the reserve list, they would be eligible. But if
okay.
they're not on the reserve list and decided they wanted to decline the appointment after the 3rd time, they really aren't on any list anymore. So
it kind of does put a little bit of a wrinkle in that. I have to visit a little bit of the issue of around a special police officer appointment to see if that's even a viable option. Or if that's something even we want to venture down, because it opens a bit of a Pandora's box in doing that. And so, that has recently come to light, but something that I think needs a lot more thought and consideration before even going down that path.
Yeah, because you want to balance not
Yes.
just, the public safety issue, of course, is most important. But yeah.
The other thing that I think one of the reasons the chief has spent, I don't know if this came up earlier, and my apologies for being late, the chief has got a committee, labor management committee, looking at civil services. Is that the appropriate mechanism for bringing people on and recruiting people? It's certainly served a purpose for a really long period of time, but there are more and more departments who are finding it really hamstrings application processes, promotions, you name it. It can really be a limiting factor, because your stars have got to line up where something opened up when at the exact right time, and it can sometimes not always reflect the best hiring practices, and so I know you guys have been spending a good amount of time on it. We'll see what comes of it, but it's worthwhile, especially given the declining interest, so to speak, in application pool. So.
That group was going to meet tonight, but we're here instead.
Good.
Councilor Devlin?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mayor, while you're here, while the chief is here, we talked about details, retired officers coming back and serving on details. I think it's a great idea. I know the department's been asking for years as a way of keeping some of our retired guys active in the city. A couple fast questions, and I asked these questions earlier, not tonight. Didn't get solid answers back, so let me just recap that again. The out of town retirees from other forces allowed to come in and work details here as a retiree?
I don't believe so. I think you'd have to be an active member of the force. And you're obviously through that pecking order. Our employees, our reserves, Salem State, and then out-of-towners. That's how they kind of call through the list. But if an out-of-town of another community allowed retirees to work, I don't believe they're considered active members of the force. And that's who I believe the list
Well, our retired officers won't be active members of the force.
But we're now, and right now, to be clear, right now, our retired officers are not working details. We just submitted the home rule petition that would enable that if it were to go forward. And that came out of lots of long conversations. Because I certainly had some concerns about this early on. This is a major policy change, a major policy shift. And I wanted to make sure we were doing it for the right reasons. Not to enrich people who are retiring, but to really, as a programmatic need for us and a public safety component for us as a community. And I think we're feeling comfortable enough, especially with some parameters being on it, being able to be set by the chief, that it might make some sense for us.
Sure.
And so we're just embarking on it. But
These Salem police officers that are retired know the city. So just to confirm, will police officers that are retired from another town be able to come into Salem and do a detail here?
no, that's not my understanding of what they're allowed to do now, or...
Yeah, we have not, that's
Well,
not actually...
when this changes, this home rule petition.
Yes, that's not part of the equation at this particular point. We focus specifically on our own folks.
I'm not asking it to be part of the equation.
Yeah, no,
think it's
it's
bad
not,
practice.
it's not part of the equation. It's not part of our call list at this particular point. And nobody's actually asked for that to occur.
Half of that is there a savings to the city by doing this? Is there a lower hourly rate for the retirees to come back and work a detail, or do they get paid the same?
I don't believe so. I think it's the same detail rate that everybody, whether it was an active duty employee or retiree, they would receive the same hourly detail rate.
Yep.
It's just to have a larger open pool to fill the openings.
Which I think is good. Yeah, I have no other questions on that. It's really a straightforward matter.
Any other questions? Councilor Fury?
The premier responsibility of us on city council and the mayor is providing the best public safety possible. And we had Chief Fire Department talked before, and you were here. How lucky and how blessed we are to have such a public safety morning night 24/7. It's our responsibility. You go to neighborhood meetings. The mayor's gone to neighborhood meetings constantly. We just gone over an election. Time and time again we hear how lucky we are to have you in the police department. Because as we sleep and we talk, we take it for granted how lucky we are. From the K-9 department all the way through every person. And particularly in Salem, one of the oldest cities in the Commonwealth, we have two major problems that your department and the fire department does heroically 24/7. Is homelessness and the opioid problem. And I had a 22-year-old only grandson, die of opioid overdose, and he had Narcan time and time again, rehab time and time again. I don't know how any of your officers can go through one day, walk a mile in their shoes, see what you have to go through. You have great community connection, your CID, community investigation unit, amazing. I had 3 or 4 of my sons through adoption and foster care go through the CID department. Human face, always a human face, caring, compassion, professionalism. And they're the highest regards for your department, as I do, as the father of them there. And I also have the highest regards. I had the opportunity program of having you in the Citizens Police Academy twice. It's such a marvelous opportunity. I'm glad the mayor keeps that going, and you keep that going in the budget. It's such to see, walk a mile in your shoes, to go in a cruiser, to see the police department on each of those 6 or 7 sessions. It's amazing how much you learn there. And I can remember sitting next to Councilor Sally Hayes when I first came on board, Ward 6 Council. She says, Tom, the first thing you do as a city councilor, always support your police department. How lucky we are And here I am sitting in her seat that she sat right here years ago. And Councilor O'Leary, Councilor O'Keefe, all of us have the highest regard and respect for you. And thank you very much. I asked the chief in the fire department to talk about his background. Could you talk about your background, what you have done over the years as a police chief, rising up the ranks into where you are now?
Rising up the ranks, absolutely. Yeah, I've been with the Salem Police Department now for 31 years. And so, started off obviously as a reserve officer, and frankly, my first foray into the police work was a walking beat, Boston and Beaver Street. I thought it was actually great. It was a good opportunity. I think pre-academy, pre actually getting your foot in the door about everything was to really engage with the public, see what it was really about, learn some of the individuals that we have on the street. I think so. That connection was huge. That particular point, I think there were like 4 walking beats going on in the city at the time. So they had a really good experience there, and then came on actually working the day shift before. I mean, literally, it was probably a year and a half before I went to an academy. It was, here's the keys, that's your area, go police. Okay, so it was a little bit different, now, because we really, make sure people actually get the proper training in the academy and stuff before really going anywhere. But then I spent little over 4 years in CID. Did some work with the DEA. Did our own work here in some of our local neighborhoods. One particular individual sold to me 3 times. I told him he needed a new profession because clearly kept getting arrested. And so from there, I was appointed as a sergeant in detectives, and then ultimately as a lieutenant. And I was working for Bob St. Pierre for 17 years as his administrative aide. And I think I learned a lot there because there was multiple things that we dealt with. I mean, you needed to really understand the full dynamics of the entire department, the intercooperation between divisions and how they had to work together. I learned a lot about the unions. I was actually sort of the first stopping point before there was issues and things that were going on, dealt specifically with the individuals with personnel matters. Whether they be medical or otherwise. And a great opportunity to bring in millions of dollars worth of grant money to the city through all kinds of mechanisms, whether it was at the state level, local level, or at the federal level. So it's been interesting. I switched over for a short period of time to special ops. Training coordinator, and I realized at that particular point that I think I needed to return to patrol as an officer in charge so that I could really understand what was happening in the department. And I spent 4 years doing that before the mayor was so nice to appoint me to this position.
You earned it. We went through an extensive process, in both an open civil service process, and there were close to a dozen candidates at that time.
19.
Over a dozen candidates at that time. Chief Butler was the only Salem Police Superior Officer that passed through that assessment center, and we've never looked back. So it's been a great experience with somebody who grew up in Salem, grew up in the department, and is now doing a great job leading it. So really fortunate.
We're blessed to have you as chief, and hope thank you, chief.
Councilor Dibble?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief Butler, you had an excellent role model and a leader in your department when you came on board onto the force. Chief St. Pierre, a personal friend of mine, and he's like an ambassador to everything that he touches. He does a great job. But what I'm proud to say is that I know in 10 and 20 years we'll have the same discussion with all the officers that are replacing my friends on the force now, coming in, that they had an excellent role model in Chief Butler. This is good. So lead these guys and do a good job. I'm sure you will. I'd like to make a motion, if I may.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Absolutely.
To the chair. I just want to say, as you know, I was a reserve officer, and I think you were part of the hiring team as a sergeant back then. So I did get to see both sides as a civilian and almost an insider as a reserve officer working in details in the Reserve Academy, and now working side by side with your officers on medical calls. And like the good at-large counselor said, we do a lot of overdoses, and we do use Narcan a lot. And it really is comforting to know that either we're going to be there or your officers are going to be there. And it does make a huge difference. I'm sure you're aware of that. And it is very successful. And I do think we have the best police department on the North Shore. I really do. And officers very professional. And I can't say enough about your job too. You're doing a great job. So thank you. I think you submitted a great budget. I think very right on key in what you need. And I'll always support the police department. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the interagency cooperation between police and fire is really important. Public safety.
We work together really good together.
Has to work, hand in hand. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead. Councilor Milo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, not being a member of the committee, but having to chime in with everybody else about what a great job the chief is doing in terms of stretching resources and addressing challenges. I think that whole personnel thing with the retirements and that type of thing, I can't imagine what a balancing act that must be. But you working with the mayor are doing a great job. And I think that allowing retired police officers to work details is a great idea. And I expect that that's going to go through, and I hope that our delegation at the State House can get the thing moving. The other thing, there was a little bit that you forgot to include in your background, and it's something that causes me to have great respect for you, certainly for the mayor and for other working women, and that's that along the way you were a working mom. And I think that's also a very important thing, and I think that brings a whole other skill set to any job. So I want to thank you, and you certainly have my support. And go ahead and pass the budget.
Councilor Dibble?
Mr. Chair, before I do that, I'm wondering if you can have Lieutenant James Walker print one more of his private police officer's newsletter. Years ago, the morale was phenomenal years ago. It's still good now. But he printed this comical newsletter that was private and talked about the rest of the week and this and that. And there were only two people that received that newsletter that were outside the department, Mayor Harrington and myself. And I think this fine mayor, Mayor Driscoll, would love to read an outgoing copy before Jim Walker retires. It'd be great to have one last newsletter for old
Doesn't
time's sake.
step over that line.
No, we need nothing like that in print footsie. Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's probably not our best choice.
With that, it gives me great privilege to motion to approve the total personnel and non-personal expenses in the amount of $11,016,406 for the Salem Police Department.
Second.
Gary gets it. All right, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, so moved.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you all for your time. Thank you for your consideration. Thank you for your questions. I actually appreciate being able to tell you what's going on a regular basis. And I wasn't sure if this was workable or whatever, but somebody gave this to me here, so I thought that I would bring this out and.
Oh, I remember that. I might have been the person who purchased that.
I think you were.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
That's the last one.
Yeah. I will give my wife credit for spotting that one at the gift shop in Oak Bluffs. And we're getting that for her. So we have one more matter before us. I know Councilor Dibble was on a deadline, and I wonder this. So the only other thing we have to actually act on here is Council Order 339, which is the sum of $355,330 for the short-term capital improvement plan. And I think this creates a conflict for the Ward 4 councilor because this is the fire department bay floor for one of the engines, for one of the stations. So I guess you can go home.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I know this is really painful for you. But.
Yeah.
We'll probably vote on a new floor.
I think so, yeah. Okay, I'll refuse myself. Thank you.
Yeah, it's better safe than sorry on that one, although I don't think it's a big deal, but. So record reflect that Councillor Flynn recused on this one because one of these is a fire department expense. So to go quickly through these items, we have the fire department bay floor, carpet replacement library, we've discussed that. More bicycle racks, park and field improvements, public art underpass, police equipment, which we've discussed, and Bentley roof replacement. So for this one, we have the Director of Capital Projects, Jenna Ide with us, and Councillor Dibble, you had a question to start off with?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We've already talked about several of these with the police department. The only question I had on the entire list was on the bay floor. What station is that for and what fire department?
Station 5, so.
I thought so, just double checking.
And my one question that I don't recall on it was the underpass. Is that the North Street underpass?
Right next to the train station.
Okay.
Right.
Yes, to actually make it not look horrible finally.
And MassDOT's doing some work on it, so I think this will accompany that as well.
Yeah, I noticed that their head personnel, I've had to go walk through there a couple of times, so it's a pretty speedy place. Any questions from members of the council on this?
The one that we haven't covered was on the Bentley School roof replacement, which is straightforward, $29,500. Mayor, while we're here, can you briefly talk about the solar panels? Is this a result of putting the solar panels up there? And which schools going forward? Right now we have 2 schools getting solar panels or coming on board. What other schools are we looking at for solar panels as well?
Yeah, well, we've looked at a number of them, and we've determined that some are, the roof structure cannot support additional solar panels. We first started this project with the hope of covering the high school, and as it turned out, they didn't have a stressing system, a truss system within that high school that on the roof that could support it. That's how we ended up with panels at Witchcraft at Bentley. I'm going to defer details to Jenna because she's much more familiar with both projects, but I know that the assessment for the Bentley roof came up as a result of us doing the work for the solar panels there. So the good news is we put up solar. The not so great news is we're replacing sections of roof at both Bentley and Witchcraft as a result, not because of the panels, but because the inspection reports that came up as a result of that indicated, look, these roofs need some work, and you might as well do it now and put the panels on top as opposed to taking the panels down later. So, sure. Jenna, do you want to add anything to
My question was, what school or what municipal facility are we going to put solar panels on next?
I would say,
Go right ahead. I know we looked at the police station.
Yeah, we looked at the police station, and now that has a new roof. The Community Life Center, the new one, has had analysis. It will be solar ready. In addition, we're looking at some potential parking canopies. The new incentive structure for solar has a higher incentive for parking canopies, and there are financing mechanisms that don't use capital, the city capital, that can use private when you get a large enough array. And so that might be something such as on top of the Museum Place garage we're looking into, or the Salem High School, a variety of lots, and we would probably include repairs and to the paving if we did something like that. So that's sort of with the new incentive structures going in. And the Witchcraft Phase 1 solar is up and running, has been since October. Bentley is up and running, and Witchcraft Phase 2 should be up and running by September. The funding for this is because we had they had done the majority of the roof at Bentley, which was at life, so we fixed it first and then put the panels on, but they had left the sort of elevator shaft and small roofs. But in addition, we need to add some railings because safety codes have changed, so we want to add some railings to make sure that it's safe for maintenance, fire, and other personnel who go on the roof.
Being one of the first houses in the city of Salem to have solar panels installed on my wife and our roof, on our single-family house. I encourage you, Mayor and Jenna, to find more projects, put more solar panels up. I think that we're missing the boat here a little bit. I think we should brag about what you've done and how many kilowatt hour, how many kilowatts we're generating, or how much savings we're making. Give the details from Witchcraft Heights and other projects.
We've promoted it a few times. The companies are pretty good about giving you a dashboard so you can see, how much you're saving, how much carbon you've reduced, how many what this equals to in terms of trees and things like that. And I'm sure we can always do a better job promoting it, so we'll make sure you see those as well, Counselor.
Right
It
after
is
you,
pretty
right
great.
after you brag about it and something would be in the newspaper, I bet that there would be more calls from houses to get solar panels.
We hope so. I mean, we had the solar coach program here. Salem at one point had, was the #1 community on the North Shore for building permits pulled for solar panels. So anything we can do to encourage it, we certainly do. I mean, high electricity rates are one of the most motivating factors that people have for it. I have them on my house as well. A number of arrays, and it's definitely very positive. We're seeing not only some savings on electricity, but also obviously the environmental benefits. And the CERC is really, I think we're, as we mentioned, hoping to have some additional focus. Jenna will be leading sort of our climate change division, which would mean representation from all the different departments, including CERC, the Sustainable Energy Resiliency Committee. And I think we're really trying to be strategic about where are the key areas we want to pick on. And frankly, solar, definitely we want to do more, but that's almost the easy stuff compared to some of the other climate change vulnerabilities that we have within our community. So we'll continue doing more of it, and we'll try to brag more about it when we can.
Any other questions? Councilor Fury?
I mean, I asked Chief Butler to give a little bit of her background. Could you give a little about your background? Because cable TV is coming, it's very fortunate. It's nice to see a human face, your responsibilities. You're touching a lot of lives, a lot of projects here, and your responsibility. It's nice to give a human face to show cable TV and the listeners and us to know a little bit about you.
So I've been with the City of Salem working since December 2016. I've lived in the City of Salem for 16 years now, raised 2 sons here who are in the Salem school systems. I come from an environmental planning background, degree, master's. I've done sort of watershed, river planning, then got into large energy facility regulation, such as footprint, similar to that. And then I worked for the Division of Capital Asset Management Maintenance, such as the courthouses, doing sustainability and efficiency for the state. I managed I was the director of the Accelerated Energy Program and the Energy Efficiency and Sustainable Buildings Group, and we did over $400 million worth of projects throughout the state, saving over $40 million annually, and we installed 15 megawatts of renewable energy across the state. So we, coming here, great opportunity to sort of work in Salem and then get more involved in resiliency, environmental. But here I'm also helping to coordinate a lot of capital projects, tracking, sort of figuring out what's going on. We have a lot going on right now. And there's a lot of different departments involved in many different ways and managing different projects. Trying to help understand ways that we can sort of streamline and sort of coordinate projects. For example, if we're going to be doing a park project, can we add some, should we be doing the parking? Should we be integrating sort of with water sewer work with that kind of a project? And then also managing a bunch of projects, including the solar project, Bertram Field project, and the Forest River, and some other smaller projects.
A lot of exciting things happening in Salem. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Councilor Dibble?
Good Council Fury, I'm a little disappointed here because Jenna did not point out that she's a Ward 7 resident.
She's a recent one.
Must be the water.
Any further questions on the short-term capital? Councilor Dibble?
Motion to approve the total capital outlay fund in the amount of $355,330.
Councilor Dibble moves to approve the outlay, the total capital outlay fund, short term of $355,330, seconded by Councilor Peterson. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? So
Thank you all.
and Councilor Fury moves to adjourn. We are adjourned.
Thank you very much. Thank you.